Thank you all so much for coming. To introduce myself, my name is Jade Bayala. I'm the assistant gallery manager and staff writer here, and I'm joined by Miguel Rivera and Eric Saline. And in the space we are in today is Studios Inc. Studios Inc. is a 501(c)(3) nonprofit, and it's for mid-career artists, giving them studio space. And if you're interested, you can visit our website or talk to Casey Price Clark. Also with us today is Terry and Aurora, who are helping out. We have a great team here. And then not with us today, but Elise Whippinger, who curated the space. So to start out, I'll ask a couple questions, and then if there are any audience questions after that, Terry has a mic that we can pass around. All right, so first question, how did you two meet?
We met online.
Yeah.
So it's kind of dry, but
Facebook.
It was Facebook,
yeah.
Messenger.
Yeah.
But what happens is that I was posting a lot of videos on the process, the things that I was trying and testing. And as soon as I started to understand what was going on, I was able to kind of get all these settings that sound kind of alien language to some people, but he was able to understand what I was talking about. And then he DM'd me, asked me for some settings and the bits that I was using. And this is all basically this machine work in the back of the video. And I was happily, like, oh, somebody finally sending a message. So I feel like, compelled to reply. And then, so that went back and forth for a few months. And then I remember you asking me if I would be interested to go and, work with you in Sweden. And basically, I say yes, but pandemic happened. And then we had to postpone the project for a few years. I think it was gonna go the 2021, everything shut down. And then we basically started to work virtually. And, I was working with my things, with my images, and you were doing the same thing with yours. And then finally we got on a couple of video calls. And then we kind of came up with a plan that I was gonna go and personally meet you. But
Yeah. So no in-person meetings until May of 2024. And we set up a residency at a communal arts center in Gothenburg. Beautiful location, looking out over the harbor. And one of the best parts about this art center is that it has kind of all the machines and techniques and materials under one roof. So for both of us, like working independently, we've got our studios and we're working in different kinds of locations, but this place was everything under one roof. And so like Miguel's like a kid in the candy store. He's like, there's this machine over here, and then there's this one over here. And so for the first couple weeks, it was just bliss. Like we were just going around and like having fun, like trying things out. And we taught a 3-day class to students that were interested, usually adults from different places. People came from different parts of the country, from the south, from the north, from the west, from the east, to come and learn, mostly in the techniques that Miguel was doing. So I was kind of like the backup dancer, just standing there like, yeah. But anyway, I'm a quick learn. And it was just super fun from day one to work together.
Yeah, that's really great. I think play is definitely an important part of any art practice, so it's nice to hear that you're able to have that experience. How did you both individually find yourself including this technology, these machines in your practice, and are there any processes that you introduced to each other?
We've been sharing this information back and forth, but I think, going to the Southern Graphics, which is basically the biggest printmaking organization for professionals in the US, we had some mutual friends. And, when I talk to other printmakers about what I'm doing, they just get bored. They're polite. They don't understand what I'm talking about. When I say, use the router, I'm using laser engraving, I'm using all of this, because honestly, I think I spent so many years doing the traditional way that I was, I finally was able to free myself from the tradition, and not because I didn't like it, I enjoy it, but I think we live in a time when technology is part of our lives, and I just wanted to integrate it into my work. And that was the same thing for you, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was telling the students at KCAI in a presentation 2 days ago how, like, for me, yeah, I'd been working with like digital photography and Photoshop and different programs, but then in 2015, I took on a new job as a product design teacher. And all of a sudden, in the back of my mind, as every program and assignment that I'm doing, I'm always trying to think about how can I like integrate this into my practice. So 2015 was really me in the frying pan, like being surrounded by laser cutters and CNC routers and 3D printers, and starting to figure out ways that I can bring this into what I'm doing and then share it with Miguel. So yeah, to answer your question, there's a lot of stuff. I mean, you know, Miguel's only 45, so like he knows a lot more than I do at my ripe old age. So he's been working with the technologies obviously for a lot longer, with all of his tool belt. And so yeah, a lot of times like I can stay with him when he's talking about like, here's the process, here's the technique, here's this machine or this program, and trying to figure out how like I can not only understand what he's doing, but then start to tweak it so that I can like see what he's doing and I understand like the way that a Miguel artwork develops, but then trying to figure out ways that I'm going to add something to the dialogue and like bring it into my own practice and give him something else to keep going with. So yeah, I think at this point now it's like, it's a yin and a yang. Like there's a lot of stuff that he's got on his tool belt and I've got on mine. And we know like each other's strengths and each other's weaknesses at this point. There's like this full trust between one another. If you walk around and you take a look at some of these prints, like you can obviously understand that there's like some of them that have probably 30, 40, 50 layers of different stuff like built up. Maybe like I was more of like a 9 to 5 kind of person. Miguel was a night owl. You kind of never really got over jet lag last summer. So I would like set out my prints on the table that I thought were going well. And then the next morning I would come in and he'll have done like 2 more things on top of it. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like, you know, like, and it's always positive. Like there might be like a moment where you look at it and you're like, okay, now what? So yeah, just a really good relationship, both on the surfaces and in person, led to the kind of stuff that you're seeing here.
Yeah, that's really good to hear. And what do you see the work doing moving forward? Do you have any plans for it?
We are looking forward to, first of all, continue with this kind of work. And you taught me or showed me how to work with VR, and then I think that's the next step. Yeah, we're gonna go into you in Sweden. Here I'm stuck in Kansas City. Nothing wrong with Kansas City, but we have Wi-Fi, so that's all I need. And then to go into the virtual room, and then we're gonna be talking to each other and collaborating virtually. Sure. Which sounds kind of like sci-fi. If you ask me, like you'd never ask a painter to go into the virtual room and paint your own thing, right? You have to have something in common. So we're sharing images that we're blending, and then we'll see what happens after that. But I would like to go back to the initial question: is why we do this? You know, personally, I just find it that I read about this Richard Tuttle painter. And I really love that quote in which he said, I just want to illustrate energy, or, to me, it was basically this idea of like, I'm kind of like a nomad for so many reasons. So I'm happy to be in Kansas City, but I love to travel always and experience new things, so that I see paths of migration that Latinos, perform. So I'm trying to map, sequels of, who was here and there. And so that's how I got into mapping. So I draw on top of maps and then remove the map, put into, these tools. And then a lot of my lines that you see, sometimes they are capricious and sometimes they are very artistic, but sometimes they're like, based on data of the energy that I see people moving back and forth. So those are the lines I'm really interested in. And that I think is a gift. When I put that color, to me, it's like, kind of reflecting on the energy of, how we move around in the world. So something that, keeps me going. And I think that it will never cease, I don't think that, you're an expat or, migrant. You migrated to Sweden, I migrated to this country. So we have that in common. And I think that's some of the stuff that we share, like we like to live in limbo, in which you know that you don't truly belong because you don't want to belong. At the same time, that's exactly what drives the work to be what it is.
Well, he's only got 2 months because he's coming back again. So we're doing, actually, a lot of these prints, how many times, some of them have crossed the ocean, like maybe more than like most people do, from here to Sweden and then back again. And so like some of this work will come back to Sweden. We have equally large stacks of like semi-done prints, both in Kansas City and in Sweden. We're gonna do a residency in a small lithography academy in the end of June. And so that's going to be exciting to see, like both what Miguel's saying, like working in the VR, like collaboratively. You have to step your game up, Miguel, because like I'm just going to say, like this is basically what I look like, except I have a purple mustache as my avatar. So you got to like work on your avatar so that like,
it's going to be a bunny,
like a green visor or something. You can be like a broccoli or something like that, but you need to like make it look cooler. But yeah, so we're going to just have fun. We have an exhibition in Stockholm in July. Another one in March next year, a big group exhibition of all of the, when you see the like really big works, this is part of a bigger project involving 16 artists from all over China, artists from Australia, artists from the UK. We have this amazing infrastructure for printmaking in Western Sweden. And so part of my goal is to not only like find artists to work with locally, but internationally and bring them and start to like, draw attention to the print infrastructure that we have in Western Sweden. So yeah, we're just gonna keep going. We've got all kinds of dreams and hopes for the future. But yeah, it really just feels like we're just hitting our stride. So we're just gonna keep pushing it for years to come.
Yeah, one important point that you just mentioned is, going back to how we met, I'm not gonna lie, I contacted people like, do you know about this guy, Eric Saline? And I call my friends in China and Argentina. They know of you. So I thought, oh, that's pretty awesome.
But there are pictures of like my daughter on a jet ski with a shotgun. So anyway, like there are legitimate questions that you should be asking about my character, Miguel.
It is like there's a network of people like us who are at least, we're talking about theirs. We don't see too many people in the US working this way or using technology to make images like this, but there's a handful of people in Poland and some in China. We were looking at the catalogs today. So yeah, I know there's a world out there, but at least they know of us for some reason. So that's the kind of network that I think it will get us, possibly in China at this time.
Yeah, that could be cool. I'd like to go to China with you.
Yeah, that all sounds really exciting.
Yeah.
Are there any questions from the crowd?
I'm curious, guys. I think when most of us think about an artist, we think about an individual who's doing a self-expression, and I kind of operating in almost a solipsism. Just it's an alone experience. It's a pursuit. It's individual. How did you guys come across? How did you meet? We heard the story about how you met, but how did that evolve into? This is a guy I want to make something with. It seems like a big bridge that most people don't ever approach.
It's like a Hail Mary, like I applied for all this funding to bring Miguel over, and like you said, we had a few like Google Meets or Zoom meetings or something like that, and we knew each other's images, and like he vetted me and I vetted him. We kind of knew about each other from different mutual friends, but yeah, I guess it is really vulnerable. Like, what would happen if like we showed up in this art space together for a month and Miguel's like, I'm sorry, but you can't touch that one. Like, oh shit, like that would have been really disheartening. But I don't know, like, yeah, it's really just like a luck of the draw, like we were really thankful for how like fresh and open we both are, and like, wow, I'm so glad that worked out that way, because that would have been horrible if it didn't,
Well, it's I don't know, you might have the same experience that I did, but so I went to school in a very formal setting, Mexico, Oregon, West Virginia, and then you start to see this pattern of what's called artistic heroes. And they are like, singular, they were powerful and in their mind. They carry some weight, but I knew exactly I didn't want to be like that. I still can carry my own weight and I can still, make my work. But I think we have like three practices: your practice, I have my practice, and then we have our practice. process. And that's exactly what, when we're like together, we trust each other, which is difficult. Going to your question, is like, I think it was the moment when you started to work on my prints and I started to work on yours. That's the moment where it really clicked, okay, this is gonna work.
Yeah.
If we didn't see that happening like on day one, then possibly we would kind of lose.
I took the biggest print that he brought that had clearly the most amount of time in it, and I'm just like,
It was liberated, honestly, because
he's like, I don't know what to do. I'm like,
it was liberated, and it's very important, I think, for practice, because in print, you have the ability to work in different formats later, different processes. So if you think like a painter, and nothing against painting, but there is only like one route, like you keep adding. In printmaking, you keep subtracting. So there's a back and forth rhythm in which, I did, using like with something that I did, he goes to the laser engraver and erase it. You could do that.
Burns off the surface. So you'll see a lot of that in this work. And that's clearly like a Miguel thing that I've picked up. Whoa, I didn't know, like you use the laser for making like a wood block that you're gonna roll up. But he's like, no, you just burn off the ink.
Whatever you didn't like,
paper.
yeah.
You just like erase it and then you can start over again. I'm like, okay, sweet. So, yeah.
So in a way, I think we become engineers, and on top of trying to make art. I don't think I can say it's 100% art, but it's something that we're trying to figure out, and the not knowing is what keeps me going. It keeps the like always like dreaming of the next image that, and then I don't like to work with a plan. At least for this work, I don't want to have that image in my head and say execute it, because that kills the image to begin with. To me, it's more exciting when there is a vague idea of what it's going to start with, and then I give it to you, and then you take it in a whole different direction, and I turn around and try to catch up with you, and it's, to me, that's really exciting and makes your life more interesting. Sorry, that was a really long answer.
Actually, I have a question.
Sure.
So with this process and the collaboration, have you taken what you've learned and from each other to change your trajectory in your work?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I'd say like we have the common knowledge about techniques and materials and all the different computer programs and machines that we use. But I guess one of the things, like I was highlighting collaborations with Miguel and other artists that I've worked with. And for me, like just lowering your guard and like being vulnerable and experimenting and letting somebody else experiment on your stuff, like it pushes me to develop my own work in a more exciting and playful way as well. And I've really valued that. I feel like, I don't know, a lot of times as a printmaker, like Miguel's saying, like if you plan an image and you follow through with it, like I'm sorry for all the students that might be hearing this, but like for me too, like Miguel, it kind of kills the spontaneity and like what I enjoy about making art. So like to stay vulnerable longer in my own practice has been really exciting, and that's one thing that I've really appreciated about working with Miguel.
I think what has happened too is that, and I find something new in my practice, and I'm just happy to tell you like this is what you do, like
I know.
Use it, do whatever you want with it, and vice versa. So I'm learning about the VR with you, and I'm teaching you CNC applications. So it's sounds like math science to some artists that when I talk to, and that's what we're oddities. We're like when we go to talk to other printmakers, they honestly don't know what we're talking about until they see it.
You should have seen, like, we're printing on this press in this beautiful location in Western Sweden. It's like 3 meters by 1.50 meters. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning. We've been printing all day, super physical work. And like, we look at each other and we're like, what do you want to do next? And he's like, green. I'm like, yeah, dude, like, let's go green, It's just like, who else in the world would get excited about that at that point in time? It's like only kind of him or me, I don't know.
It may be cultural too. It might be cultural because, there are people from other parts of Europe come into this residency studio, and the German, they looked at us like we're crazy. Especially the old lady, like, what?
Yeah.
You have the energy to do what?
Yeah.
And then they want to get selfies with us. And
Yeah. We're
Like
good.
it
We're good
Chris-
selfie material. This is great selfie art, all of it. I mean, just come on, like right there. You can go take some selfies with it.
But something that I haven't, said enough is it really helps when, like you said, your guard is down, but going to Sweden in the middle of summer when you're confused, disoriented by the light 24, almost 24/7, so that being sleep deprived, just like Jeremy Ross said, you can just dream about the spontaneity, the creativity that you cannot come up with when you're in your full senses. So that's something that I don't know if you experienced.
So you're
but
delirious the whole time now.
sometimes, yeah, I can say that. I can gladly blame that to because coming back to Kansas City and just teaching and working, that's a safe zone, but that's not the zone that I always want to be in.
Yeah. I understand.
So with this overall, and you guys talking about like working such long hours, when did you guys know when to stop or kind of like put the brakes on something and be like, okay.
Well, these things are on the wall right now, so we're not going to do anything on them at the moment. But I don't know. I guess his students are asking me the same thing when I'm going through my slideshow about my work. It's like kind of the only time when you know something's done is if you sell it, if you trade it, or if you like set it on fire or lose it. I don't know. I mean, otherwise, like, I feel pretty satisfied. Like the work on the wall, like it was really rewarding for us to get to, like he was getting ready to come back to Kansas City last year. We know that the show was going to take place, and we're just patting ourselves on the back. We're like, yep, this one's done. Like this one's done. Like we put our signature on these, so no, we're not going to keep working on any of the prints that are on the wall here. But it was just fantastic to get to this level of after 2 years of like deliberations and like all the stuff that we did to plan both of those years working, to get to some level of like resolution with what we see here. So.
And then when we have to decide, it's like somebody used the analogy of Michael Jordan. First you start to think of where your feet are, and then, after years of constant playing with your feet, you don't think anymore. You just feel it. And sometimes when you look at the images, you feel like, well, that one needs a little something, that one is done. So when they feel balanced, the gravity is there, visually, they're like on a scale. And then, for example, that one, I think that twice, like the second layer, that's done. Let's not touch that anymore.
Yeah.
But because I think the black was so commanding, like, with the layers. And then it felt solid from the begin with. Others, they have to go again. Maybe need something. So to answer your question, it's very intuitive.
Yeah.
Well, I have two questions for you.
Yeah.
First, being the materials that you printed on, did you have any happy accidents or complete meltdowns since you have so many layers of process? How did you determine what weight of paper to print on with, going through so many layers? And how did you pick your fabric to print your tapestries?
I guess one of the things that is different about our practices from one another is that I'm working more sculpturally. I know you've worked with sculpture and installation and stuff, but I sculpt with the CNC. I'm carving like bas reliefs and a lot more 3D modeling and stuff like that. So that was initially why I got into the VR, and then I realized there were some common applications for like us working together. Miguel's got this quality about paper, and that's something that I need to pay attention more to. So he's chosen a lot of really high quality printmaking papers for the exhibition. And a lot of the textile pieces that you see here, I'm going to like textile clear out sales where like I'm going to buy the stuff that catches my eye, like the active surfaces. Like you can see the kind of surface tempo on a sheet of paper. Like it starts as a white sheet, but we see like some of these textiles that, this one is intended to be sewn up into like pants, like this is shirt material. This one could be like for your kimono or something like that. So it's such a nice way to start a print process when there's already a color or a texture or something going on the textile. And then just for the sake of necessity, like when you're printing on like a 4x8 foot scale, like it's a better idea to work on textile than it is on paper. Yeah, did I answer your question?
Yes, yes.
Anything to add, Miguel?
Meltdowns?
Meltdowns? No. Oh yeah. Last year, oh my God, you went on some like nighttime binge. You were there till like 3 a.m. printing with those plexi plates and stuff, and like you had problems with the pressure and yeah. Anyway, so it was more just like Miguel being like, that print was really good, but I totally screwed it up. So it's still there looking at me, and I hope to put some layers down before he comes back so that he can not feel like it's his fault. But yeah, I mean, I probably did the same thing to some of the prints that he's like, wow, that was going really well, and then Eric touched it. So, but some of those are actually on the wall over here. Like I literally just gave him a stack of prints to bring back to Kansas, and then I hadn't seen him. I mean, I know I was here last Friday, but I was kind of in zombie mode. But like I hadn't seen those 2 prints when they were done, you know, like I was like, there's something going on here. I'm not sure what it is, Miguel. Here, you do it, you know, and then he did. So like, yeah, super cool.
Well, my second question is, you both have such, you know, you're both citizens of the world with such interesting backgrounds. Can you share with me your story, Eric, about your education here in the States, how you got set on the path to living in Sweden and being a professional artist?
Do we have like another hour here? Yeah, anyway, I moved like 11 times before I was 18, and I lived in all over the U.S., East Coast, West Coast, Midwest. I never lived down south, maybe Maryland, maybe, but I went to Colorado College for my bachelor's program, and that place I studied in fine art, and I also double majored in French. So I have this, I forgot to mention that I lived in France for 3.5 years in middle school, but yeah, I led bike trips all over the planet for high school kids as a summer job, and then I was the director of logistics for this outdoor travel company for 2 years. And I just figured, hey, if I'm gonna have this day job, I still need some creative practice. So I got a residency at the Beaver Mill in North Adams, Massachusetts for printing. And so I would like bike over there 8 miles after working all day, and then print till midnight, bike 8 miles home. And I did that and realized that like, hey, if I'm gonna be this dedicated, I might as well try to go see what it's like to be an artist. And I went to Mass Art in Boston for my master's degree from 2003 to 2005. And at a hippie commune in Cambridge, they had international person dinner night where you could just walk in off the street and get like free vegan food if you talk to them. And I had friends that lived there. I wasn't just like walking in off the street, but I met a beautiful Swedish woman. I was captivated by her beauty and intelligence, and the rest is history. So like I finished my degree, and she gave me enough warning that she wanted to go back to get her PhD in Sweden. And I applied for a grant from the American Scandinavian Fellowship, and I was a visiting artist in residence at the University of Gothenburg in the Valin Fine Art Academy for 10 months. And that gave me time and energy to like find a studio, make some friends. I got a job teaching at the international school in middle school in the IB program. And so, yeah, I mean, that's just like one small slice. I mean, after that, I lived in Morocco as a Fulbright scholar and worked at the Fine Art Academy. I worked at the University of Gothenburg for 6 years, teaching in their print department. And yeah, I mean, I just kept traveling nonstop. I go to Morocco like almost every other year, and I come to the States to see family. I travel all over Europe, China for different projects and stuff like that. But anyway, that's about me in a nutshell.
For me, it was a tiny bit different, but it's still similar. So, born and raised in Mexico, in Guanajuato. And if you've been to Guanajuato, it's like Toledo, Spain, like old, 15th century kind of city. Cobblestone is beautiful, but for a teenager, it's not very appealing. Or it's too small. You wanted to see, I got into music and just listening and watching videos. And when videos started with MTV, so I thought that, I want to travel. I want to see these places that I was seeing on TV. And then I went to this program, which is a 3-year degree program of associates at the University of Guanajuato back then. But they told me I wouldn't have a BFA. So I went through the program, and then I met a guy a lithographer who had retired from Oregon, went to Guanajuato as a gift from his university to spend like a full semester just to retire. But he was so anxious, so he ended up at my school trying to teach something. So I became his translator. And then I was taking classes since seventh grade, I think. So I was able to practice first my English, and then for him to be able to communicate with people. And then the whole thing started to click. So when he realized that I wasn't going to be able to finish with a BFA, he invited me to transfer to Oregon. So I competed for these scholarships, ended up at SOU, and then from here, I just met him and became a part of the family. From there, I went to West Virginia University to get an MFA. Met my wife. We went back to live in Mexico, and then in Mexico, I was able to get a grant money to start traveling. So I ended up going to Japan and going to other places. So I started to the little bug of being able to travel got into me, and then that's when 10 years later came back to Kansas City, and ever since, I think the ability to apply for money or get your money and go to places, that became the thing for me. Like, and I want to be able to see how other people work, and I think that's present in our work. I think I'm also indirectly influenced by what I've seen in this place, what I've been fortunate to be, and then I think it will at one point it will be not a prominent theme, but very important in my work as well. That's what I set up the slideshow for you to see, what the elements, the atmosphere, perhaps, we're influenced by color, the summer in Sweden indirectly, but that's something that I wanted to share. It's like, and then just being able to see your Chinese friends, their mark, it's also, it's back here, and I wanted to be able to honor that as well.
Yeah.
So you were saying that these pieces have been back and forth, right? How did you do that? And did you like mail it? Did you go through customs? Did you put it in a suitcase?
I got here on Friday, and I didn't bring any clothes. I just bought these. Otherwise, I'd be here naked right now. But no, I travel with really big suitcases, and so does Miguel. And we just like cram art supplies in first, and then whatever space is left, we put clothes in there. So like rolls are the best way to transport paper. A lot of the textiles, like I just fold them up. I'm printing with the road roller tomorrow. We're printing at KCAI using a steam roller with students, and it's going to be super fun. So I brought both the things that I'll put ink onto to print from on a roll, and then the textiles that I print I'll bring back, and then we'll keep working on them when I get them back to Sweden over the summer. So yeah, there's always this kind of logistics in the back of your mind, like how am I gonna preserve these things? It's a strange world when you start thinking about transporting art and art supplies. I don't know.
Something that doesn't happen very often, and then when I compare notes with people working here, at least in the U.S., is how it's worth it. Use your own money to do something.
It keeps us off the streets, Miguel.
Yeah,
I mean, otherwise we would just be out there like any other bum. So yeah, gives us something to do.
Yeah.
We've got a vision. We've got a purpose.
Okay. I think just listening to both of you, I think the world of printmaking is part of what influenced you because of all the exchange of ideas, working in studios together, going around the world and having this language of working in studios together that is really impressive too, besides what you were able to do with each other. And my comment about the work is, I feel, to me, watching you make these over the years, they're like excavations. Your newest technique, your newest, all the laser burning and things like that, they're on top.
Yeah.
But underneath, especially this one, I can see the very first print we printed of yours, Miguel.
Yeah.
So I think, to me, that's an interesting aspect of it. And probably if you reflected on it, you'd find the date or the place or the technique that you had. So that, I think, is impressive.
Yeah, there's this nonstop pirating and recycling. I mean, the thing that I carved that you were printing last night, I don't even know, like, did you, like, he has some of my images and files and I have some of his images and files, and like, then I just zoom in and focus on one little chunk, but I make it into like a 4 by 8 foot carving, you know? So like, yeah, we've got this kind of trust and ability to just experiment and take a chunk and be like, yeah, there you go. That's a fact. It's not like I don't have to ask a question. I just do it, and you're like, nice, you know? So that's a really fun part. But I like the idea of excavation. I mean, there's definitely a history of surfaces and marks and techniques and materials. Maybe we should play with that more. Like, how far can we? Let's go back to 2015. Let's do what we were doing in 2015. I don't know. Maybe it would just look really bad, but I don't know. It's an interesting idea.
Well, Eric, I have a question for you.
Sure.
I know there's one piece in this exhibition that represents your work alone without Miguel's influence.
Sure.
Can you tell me what the brick imagery represents and where that came from in your graphics?
I guess, like I mentioned before, working with product design and engineering and architectural design, like all the different programs where you're making 3D models with different images wrapped onto the forms that you're making, it became something really powerful and playful for me to be able to have my file. I'm at the start of my like CAD modeling process, I was working with a program called SketchUp, and I could put my images of like whatever I wanted. I chose brick walls. I mean, like there's this, it's not a pixel. I'm not really sure how to define like what's the smallest unit of like Miguel/Eric information that we're interested in, but you can tell like there's not much left untouched on our surfaces. Like there's stuff kind of everywhere. And so for me, developing the CAD model, I have that same approach. Like I want to see like really small details. I can sit there and like stare at like a bush for like a really long time. I'm just like, look at all this information. So like to be able to wrap images onto 3D forms, and then sometimes you'll find that like you might be floating. Like there's one over here where like you're clearly like Superman flying above this brick landscape. And other times, like this one back here, you're like in a corner. You're just like staring at a corner. So I guess you leave it up to the viewer to interpret what they want to into the piece. I mean, every once in a while, like, oh, like, look, there might even be like figurative reference in some of the stuff that Miguel puts in. A brick wall, it's just something that's relatable. Like we know, like you can see these things even if you're like, what the heck is going on here? It's a brick, it's mortar. You know how big or small you are in relation to it. So I mentioned the idea of scenography before, but I do think about a lot of these things as a backdrop for like what the viewers are doing when they're here. You might find it difficult. I acknowledge that there's not like the ability to like rest when you're looking at our work, but somehow just that's a gateway into the piece when you can see something that gives you something to latch onto and recognize like that you know these things, and then you don't know what the heck everything else is around there. But, yeah.
Any final questions?
As we're walking around, how would you encourage us to experience these works? Would you intend for us to try to pick who's contributed what?
Don't touch anything.
Whatever you do.
Don't lick it. It's toxic.
I mean, you know, one way to think about this is what contribution was made from each artist, and then
We could probably point out some stuff. Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard to figure out like
Obviously, it's
what I
going back
did.
and forth, and one wouldn't have done what they did without the last step.
Yeah,
the
I
last
guess
layers.
I don't know. Like for both of us, this exhibition was a fantastic opportunity to have some clarity. You know, if you look at the slideshow, you'll see images of how Miguel and I are working on like 40 different pieces that are right on top of each other. Sometimes they're like 3 or 4 deep. So like to be able to take a step back and let the work have some space to breathe is super important. So I don't know. I was joking before, but like some of this work involves staring, and it's not restful. It might be like aggressive to you to like let the patterns and the rhythms and the colors like sweep over you, but that's kind of the things that we're talking about. It's about this kind of like immersive experiential thing. that's presented on a two-dimensional surface. So I don't know. It's okay to stare. It's okay to like space out, and then you might have to like go get a drink of water, or like not look at the next one over. But I guess that's my advice to you, to like experience the work. Is just take some time, and yeah, if you know printmaking stuff or not, I don't think it matters. I think it's about like the visual experience of these surfaces and the ways that we work with these techniques and materials and colors and patterns and lines and kind of formal aspects of being any kind of two-dimensional art maker, photographers. Or I mean, you know, like we're like studying art history and ways that other artists compose spaces, so we're aware of these things, but then we're trying to do something different with it too, you know.
And then I can also send you to an artist, a nun from California, Sister Corita Kent. Oh, yeah. And then basically she came up with a set of rules for artists that we should follow, like, you know, try not to think and work at the same time because they contradict each other, or they can. So what we've done is like trying to leave the concept, you know, that we've developed so far, leave it at the door and just go and work.
Just make stuff, yeah.
Because that's the only way the energy, you know, is gonna flow. Mm-hmm. And I think that's still, you know, that's still the case with when I go out, they just go to Oldesland and, you know, there's like just work.
Yeah.
And they will sit back and step back and later on, and I'll kind of reflect on, you know, what happened. And then not everything works out. And I think we've lost pieces that, you know, it was a good thought, a good try when we were working on it, but we lost it. And just like, you know, it's a very natural way to think. Yeah. And I don't think that we're truly attached to each one to be able to guide you to say, you know, this is what you should experience with them. But the idea of just belonging, just getting lost in each one of the images. And this was something that really happened back in the 1960s here in the States, and now going to art history, the experiment called Black Mountain College, in which artists would just go with a clean slate and almost anything went, like art writers, musicians, visual artists. They just were trying to transform themselves, you know, leave any highly conceptual work and just make a reformation work kind of thing. I think that's still, you know, we as artists, you know, sometimes you're repetitive and you have a tendency to repeat like the same success over and over. And that's a dangerous step for me. Like, I don't want to get caught in, you know, this boxing into one process, one image only. And then the same thing happened with, you know, I'm not going to compare myself with Picasso, but, you know, he only had 3 artistic moments, you know, the blue period coming into a cubism, you know, when he went into sculpture, and then the last one, you know, like trying to go back to realism. But those were the 3 moments, and anything in between is just 3 moments. And at least, you know, I'm trying to just forget about, you know, this is great. I'm just trying to think this is something that we are doing together, and I like the fact that I can still go and then I can find new things myself. So that's my advice to you. Try to find things that you can relate to with each piece.
All right. Oh, do you have a question?
This is the first time Heinrich doesn't have a question.
Maybe I do.
Oh,
Maybe I don't.
I'm gonna grill you later. Yeah.
I'm very interested with the fabric pieces and stuff, and mostly interested, mostly with those 2, how it looks like use more organic shapes and wavy lines. I was wondering the thought process behind that, and even did the fabric kind of help with that decision as well with that?
Good question. I guess the fabric came out of necessity. I have big rolls of paper, but when you start printing on really high quality paper, the price tag is astronomical. So the textiles, yeah, as I mentioned, I really like all the ways that the materials, synthetics or cottons can like contribute. I guess we're working on a bunch of stuff that we're going to print tomorrow with road roller that are very translucent, and we're printing on both sides. I proposed the idea. I'm not going to go crazy with it, but like they are textiles. Like we've obviously done like basic hemming and stuff to be able to install them, but I guess the natural extension would be to start cutting them and sewing them and seeing things that we could do with them, like as a more dynamic material. But to answer your question, like no, like the textiles did not inform the process of making the matrices. Like if you know about the technology behind what we're doing, I'm sorry, you can let your eyes glaze over, but like if you CAD model, then you know that you're making three-dimensional forms that have, typically they're just like gray or something like that in the modeling environment. But you can attach a JPEG, like a bitmap, to the surfaces. And a lot of times, a lot of programs, that's very, it's not hard, but it's like, you're like clicking and there's a drop-down menu and you gotta select and like figure this stuff out. But in the VR set, like, no, I'm not getting paid by like Mark Zuckerberg or like Gravity Sketch, but like we're in the VR set, and this is something that another collaborator that Miguel and I are also working with, Dave Bram, showed me how to take any JPEG and attach it as a paintbrush so that when you're sculpting a three-dimensional form, like the JPEG is already wrapped around that form. So you're literally painting with whatever image you've got on your brush in a three-dimensional shape. And so like these pieces last summer were made that way. Like I had like Miguel prints like on my brush, and I'm sculpting with these planes and then tweaking them and then putting like my thing in front of it. And then, you know, we both work with Illustrator and Photoshop. So there might be stuff that like I've sculpted in the VR environment, and it's super weird. Like a lot of these techniques and materials, they're intended for something completely different, like some kind of commercial application. Like you can do your assets for your video game design, and then weirdos like Miguel and I come along and like do something completely unintended with it. But that's the cool part. So like, yeah, we make these images, and they are what they are, and we learn a lot through putting them on materials and just kind of seeing where it takes us. There's always more, but the bottom line with these big prints is that there's the planning stage about like how to carve the thing that takes, some of these carvings might take 7 or 8 hours to do on that scale. But then, like you mentioned, we're just about intuition and reacting to what we see on the surfaces as we're creating them.
Yeah, and the another layer of that is how to read the images and knowing how they're gonna look finally when they go to the CNC machine, because not everything is going to translate. Like you cannot just bring a photograph and expect it to be readable with the bot machine. So that in that case, Roger runs the CNC machine in this museum, friend of yours. So he's very accepting, I guess, with the crazy stuff that you give him, and then he just like runs with it.
Yeah.
But everything has to be kind of tailored. So we have to kind of at least change and compromise with the aesthetic that comes from, you know, working with a CNC machine. And so in that case, our work has evolved into what the program can give us.
Right.
From then on, I think we're going back and then trying to adopt that aesthetic of the CNC machine into a regular work, which just sounds kind of crazy, but you know, it can work both ways.
Mm-hmm.
Let me know if there's some questions
Yeah.
or some terms that we use and that you don't get, because we're happy to explain it more.
I feel pressure to ask.
Oh, geez, Miguel, you put him on.
I'll
He's
skip-
the color expert, so.
Oh.
But I'll skip the color question.
All right, thanks.
I'll ask individually. So, comment and question. What really excites me is how individual language informs composition, color, narrative, and I see that how they overlap. And the word literally reverberates for me. That draws me in to investigate my own familiar patterns with the unknown. So that intrigues me, which leads me to finding narrative. I'm really interested in terms of the collaborative process, how you all came about with your titles.
Oh,
I don't have anything to say with that. Miguel's coming up with it because they wouldn't let us leave things untitled here. So
No,
Is that ChatGPT, Miguel? Did you? No,
No.
he actually came up with this, right? But
no, I started because let me put it this way. Through the idea of migration, I started to write multiple, pages on how to basically explain the work, or at least to myself. I don't know if I am in the business to describe like this means that to the audience. I think I'm more of an introspect. But the titles came from the idea that they're faces of the moon, right? And then we're all that's what we have in common. So a lot of these titles have to do with faces, craters, and that was easy. And also the idea of like several immigrants, people who have migrated. So you will see those names as well. So it's like an homage to the idea of not belonging, moving to a different place.
he's much more eloquent than I am. I would go with his answer.
But to answer the first question, like I think that the marked aesthetic is becoming like almost like similar. Like you probably are starting to solve some of your the print the same way I would do. So in that sense, I think we're kind of sharing the same brain cells.
We have one brain cell now. But, yeah. From Miguel's got this cartography and migrations, and on some level, it's not so different from the way that I approach things. I was presenting to his students that I'm kind of processing all the different activities that I do, the way that I like navigate, particularly like outdoor landscape. I try to weave that in. So yeah, migrations, travel, displacement, all these concepts, they're in both of our work in different degrees. So I think, I don't know, take a walk around. Check out some of this stuff. I don't know.
But also it's got a lot to do with language.
Yeah.
The language migrated. The fact that you're forced to not speak your native language, like me. So your brain changes a little bit. And so the complicated answer is like, I think printmakers, when we work with colors, processes, matrices, you become this tetra-dimensional thinker, in which there's not always a good way to solve a problem. So you always kind of go beat around the bushes, go around, think in 3 dimensions, and then come to a conclusion that might not make sense to a lot of people. But I'm happy with that too.
Well, I think that's a great place to end. So thank you so much, Miguel and Eric, and let's give them a round of applause.
Thank you.